Yeah, so Brian back with you. Saturday, what day is it? It's like May 20th or something of that nature. It's been quite a while since I've done a video. Figured it was about time for me to go ahead and do so. Out here at Cochrane Mills, hiking the place with my homeboy Waffles. So, it's been, I don't know, months since I've, in all honesty, done any video. I kind of cheated. Waffles, quit! Kind of cheated and used an old video that I was a bit apprehensive about putting on there, just because I'm still going through the letting go of my secrets type of thing. It's always a problem for me to kind of open up and just really say exactly what's on my mind. Waffles, come over here for a minute. Thank you, sir. How you doing? So, it took me a while, a couple months in all honesty, after watching that video to actually put it up there. I ended up, I don't know, putting it up there anyways, because over the last few months I've gone through this point where I feel like I need to really tackle any of the issues that I have that I feel is an issue. And one thing that I definitely have a problem with is keeping everything to myself, keeping my emotions bottled up, which is hilarious because in a lot of ways I keep my emotions on my sleeve. You know, people can look at me and understand that something is taking place. You know, so but the trouble is they don't ever know what that is. And I'm not too keen on giving them any of that information. One of the things, come on, that I've realized is it's a sign of weakness for me personally. Other people may not feel that way, so be it. For me, I'm looking at it like this is something that I need to do in order to reach a new power, in order to step forth and become what I'm here to become. A couple people that have touched my life just died a couple of days ago. Jack Fresco being one of them, of the Venus Project. I'm sure a good bit of you guys have already heard of that gentleman. If not, look him up. Great individual, great free thinker, futurist. A lot of quit, dude. A lot of how I feel about the economy changed when I watched the Zeitgeist movement with the Venus Project, you know, introduced. I think it was the second Zeitgeist movement. Yeah, the second Zeitgeist movie. But another gentleman by the name of Chris Cornell, one of the most amazing voices of music of all time, in my opinion. The grunge rock era was when I came of age, so it really hit home. And one of the things that I realized that my dog definitely likes pulling me all around so he can pee on every spot that some other dog come in here. But anyways, what I realized is nobody, in all honesty, can really see who I am because of me. And for the longest time, I wanted people to see me for who I was. You know, it's hard to explain, but all throughout my childhood and what have you, it is almost like I was starving for attention, but I got all the attention that I could handle and felt smothered at the same time. So it's really strange how it's all this balance, if you will, this equilibrium. And it happens to empaths, it happens to star seeds, it happens to twin flames, intuitives, if you will. At this stage, there's supposedly, I go along with this whole thought process because it actually fits well. Waffles, quit pulling me, dude. Come over here. And it fits well. So I got off the beaten path. Waffles is pulling me along. Sorry about that, y'all. But walking along here in nature gets things going. Hey there, how are you doing? Waffles, come. I'm doing well, thank you. But as far as intuitives, empaths, starseeds, indigo children, any of the above that you can think of, name it. There's 144,000 of us on this planet right now. We're all here to do something different, something the same, more or less elevate the consciousness of the human being on this planet, because this place is essentially our canvas, if you will. This place was given to us to be our expression, our artwork, our canvas. And if we continue to sit around and let other people tell us what we're supposed to be doing, instead of coming out into nature and trying to figure it out for ourselves. Waffles, please come this way and stop yanking me around, bro. I'd appreciate that. When we come out of our square boxes and we get away from all the people around us, our friends, our family, we start understanding what's ours, what emotions are really ours. The emotions that you can't ignore when you're by yourself. Some people can't stand to be by themselves. Dude, Waffles, you're gonna have to relax with this crap, dude. Come here. Come. Sit down. Good God. Alright. I can't even think straight because this dog is yanking me around wanting to pee on everything. So, I'm gonna take a sip right here. Screw it. Alright. So we've got 144,000 of us running around doing our own special task. All kinds of obstacles standing in the way to keep you from otherwise reaching that goal, reaching what you're here to do. You're essentially a cog in the works. And otherwise the whole system is going to take place and continue to function even if you do not do what you're supposed to do. Your cog in the system stutters, stops, it's going to keep going. It's just not going to go the way that you otherwise would like it to go. It's never going to go that way. No matter how hard you work, if you're supposed to be moving in one direction and you're continuously trying to move in the other direction, your life is going to just suck. So, the best thing that you can do is figure out who you are, who you're about, what are you here to do. And that, in all honesty, sounds so simple, but it's the one thing that keeps us unhappy in life. You can have all of the money, you can have all of the kids, you can have everything that you thought that you wanted in life, but still not be happy unless you look deep inside of yourself and figure out what that is. What is your purpose? What are you here to do? And there are a number of different things that you can go on and be content, be happy. But there's really one path that you're really supposed to walk, and your whole life is going to have these burning bushes, if you will. Moses' burning bushes. You're going to see me use that term, the burning bush, quite frequently, because that's essentially what it is for us. Especially empaths, especially starseeds and what have you. You're going to have these burning bushes. You're not going to have, these moments that it's just like a smack in the head. For instance, you know, I have just recently purchased the new Paramore album. Now, Paramore was introduced to me roughly, I don't know, 5 years ago, by my twin, and right away, like, I could feel the emotion in her music, in Hayley Williams' music, in Paramore, right? That's one of the things about newer music. You don't feel that soul, that emotion, that just power. And as soon as I heard it, you know, I've always had a thing with chick bands. I'm a big fan of Kitty and Veruca Salt and Garbage, and, you know, all of these bands with women frontrunners. You know, you don't have a whole lot of them. Growing up in the 80s, you know, I really loved Cyndi Lauper, and you can tell hardcore Cyndi Lauper influenced Hayley Williams for sure. And I can feel all of that in the new album. It's so 80s style. It's like that Burning Bush, if you will. It's exactly, the whole album is like it's speaking to me directly. It's like it was made for me personally. That song 26 on the album, I can't even go through without feeling this emotion just wanting to come out of me at any point. It's hard pressed for me to go through that hard song, a whole song, and not tear up. And just every song on there is speaking to me. There's one in particular, I forget what the name of it actually, now I'm thinking about it. Let me take a look here. I've got it on my phone, so give me just a moment and I will see what the name of that song is. Tell Me How. Tell Me How is another song that touches that spot, if you will. Let's go ahead and just play that a little bit. Maybe that'll get me inspired some. So, with the 80s style, with the songs, it's almost like everything, her words explain exactly the situation that I'm feeling when it comes to my twin flame. And one song in particular that I found that did that was that song, The Only Exception. And, you know, this once again, these burning bushes. That song spoke of, you know, going, I think the middle verse of it, Waffles, come back over here. Come on, buddy. Now. Thank you. The second verse was much like, you know, we have to figure out of ways to live alone and be content. And that's what my life was all about, you know. It was just me and my daughter, and I focused on her, and really everyone else was kind of subpar. There was no one that was able to really come into my life and be that I guess encouragement, if you will, to make me step out of my box, my shell. And then she came into my life, and it's just like, you know, the song said, she was the only exception. I, in all honesty, had no reason to come out of my box. There was nothing that came along to really make me want to jump in and not just sit here and be content anymore, but in all honesty go with the things that need to be taking place. So we got some other hikers coming. I want to make sure Waffles doesn't run after him. Come here, Waffles. Yeah, he stays in right here. There he goes. Okay, looks like they're gonna actually walk that way. But Waffles is cool as long as people are cool with him. He's gonna like love them to death. Otherwise he'll ignore them. But as soon as somebody starts going like, oh my god, look at Waffles, it's hard pressed to keep him by me. He's gonna go over there and smell them and get petted and all of that good stuff. But this is my sidekick, that's for sure. I love this buddy. But either way, that song was another burning bush for me. And this new album, it's almost like putting me in this stage where I feel her presence so closely. The other day when I first bought this thing, I was making up a steak on the back porch and I was grilling out while I have you know. Had my music playing. I was just listening. I believe it was almost for the first time. I may have listened to a couple songs on it, but not the whole album all the way through, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm drinking, you know, I ended up finding some apple cider on sale, and it was Woodchuck's Granny Smith, and I love the green apples, that sourness. So I definitely recommend that. But it dawned on me after I was sitting there drinking that stuff, because my twin is all into the gluten-free, and she has to drink, you know, those things if she's going to drink anything at all. So it dawned on me, okay, I'm sitting here listening to Paramore, drinking this, you know, apple cider, which is her essential drink of choice. And it took me a little while to realize that my twin is paying me a visit, you know, it's pushing me back into that same time frame as I was back a couple years ago. And it wouldn't surprise me if she's off on a same trip down in Florida listening to the new Paramore album, much like a story I told you about. Sorry, I'm not answering work calls today. Much of the story I told you about that boxcar racer on one of my previous videos. Now, one of the things I noticed on that particular video, you saw me biting down, clenching. It's hard for me to divulge my secrets, if you will. There's not a whole lot that, you know, would honestly just blow your fucking mind when it comes to me. There's plenty of stuff that I can talk about, you know, the cosmos and the world and what have you, that blows your mind. But when it comes to me, hell, I don't think that I'm that interesting of a guy. So when it comes to my secrets, I mean, it's not that I don't want to divulge them by any means. It's just like, you know, to me, it's just my life. So it's not something that I go into. I realized that I didn't tell a lot of my friends, or, you know, people tell me all of these stories. I know all of these things about their past, but hardly ever do I tell people about my past. One of the things that I've realized with these videos after watching myself, you know, tell my story a little bit, is this is exactly what I need, not only for you guys to feel like, hey, here's some information to help you out, so hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I made, what have yous, but it's also one of those things that it feels good to open up and to conquer that obstacle that is Brian, that hurdle of opening up to people. Like, I've already gone through such pain and anguish and anger and all of these different emotions throughout my life. It's easy to take that step back and to see myself in all of these situations at this point. And that's what we need to do. We need to get to a stage where we understand what another person's perspective is, and we understand that it's not the difference between right and wrong. There is not necessarily a right and wrong. Everyone's perspective is going to be different, and somebody's perspective may be different from another person's perspective having the same conversation, but believe it or not, both of them are going to be correct. Now, trying to explain to two people that are correct but have different perspectives that one of them is right and wrong type of thing, or not right and wrong, I'm sorry, is going to be hard pressed, because both of them are right. Both of them feel they're right. Both of them know they're right. There's just two different perspectives, and that's where this human idea comes into play. That's what fucks us up. We've got this this free choice. You know, we have this planet here in order to take care of or fuck up. We have all of these situations where we can nurture something, or we can go in there and rape and pillage it. And it's like that for every human being. It all comes down to your choice, your choices in life. One of the things that I have to bring up in this video is one of the things that I made a mental note of was with your twin, with mine personally, and I hope that this explains a good bit for you guys. It wasn't all of the great things that she has to offer that made me fall for her, that made me essentially fall in love, you know? That brought me out of my cage, that really essentially challenged all of those obstacles, all those walls that I had built, all of the everything that needed to be worked on, that I needed to work on. She was the only exception, the only one that made me come out of that content stage. Like, look, I'm not going to work on all this. I'm content. I'm cool with where I'm at. I'm cool with being lonely. I'm cool with this situation. And she comes in my life and says, look, I'm sorry, but you have this at the end of the road if you take this road. And that's essentially what this whole twin flame thing is getting us to realize, hey, we can step in beyond the third dimension. We'd like to think, hey, it's the fifth dimension, but once we get past that fourth dimension, that dream state, and get to the next level, it's not the fifth dimension, it's not the sixth dimension, it's the every dimension. It's the experience all again. We're experiencing the all. That is God, the all, the source, the everything that you can think of is God. Think about something. Yep, that's God. The light, the sun, the dirt, the waffles, the me, the atoms in my toenail, the tree over there, the everything, the clouds, the sky, the even the air molecules that we can't even see that are just floating around. All of that is God. All of the energy, all that is mass once was light, once was energy. There is nothing in existence here that has not been light. Light is God, okay? Everything is God. Light is the God that we, in a sense, worship. The God that is up in the sky listening to our prayers and stuff, that's light. Now, we forget to include the darkness in the whole thing, because the darkness is also God. All of the cosmos is full of bright suns and stars and brightens up all of the cosmos, correct? Well, the darkness is every bit as much of God as the light is, and we forget that. And this is what I'm getting at on this point. My twin, it wasn't all the lovey-dovey things and all of the great things that she had to offer that really made me fall in love with her. It was the darkness, because inside this just most beautiful, loving, caring person, that in all honesty, this is the person that tells me that I asked her, it's like, because we were in this conversation, having this conversation about being the bigger person, right? And I asked her, well, when is it appropriate to not feel like you need to be the bigger person? When is that line in the sand, if you will, that you're like, well, fuck being the bigger person at this stage? She looked at me and said, never. You always need to be the bigger person. So this is closest to perfection, is closest to that superhero, if you will, which is another song on that new Paramore, which really hits home with me, talking about superhero. And that's another thing about a twin. You scare them away when you put so much hope and you know, you build them up on this whole pedestal, and they're so scared that they are going to fall off of it. Another thing that I'll talk to you about is something that I've come across that's called I'll come back to that. I'll let you guys know when that comes into my head. But as of right now, let's stay on the subject with the darkness. The darkness is what I fell in love with her. You know, in this just loving, caring individual, I also saw this anger and rage, and she punches holes in doors, gets pissed off at her family and her friends. And when she's so passionate about something, you can see her hands just, and grips her teeth, and you can see this passion, this fire, this darkness inside of her. And when I saw it continuously, and how she was able to control that and keep it under wraps, and not always, like I said, she blew up and punches holes in fucking walls and doors and shit, but what it did for me was, in a sense, make me feel like my darkness is okay, that rage, that passion, that when I punch holes in doors and what have you. Here's this person that I look up to, which is funny, she's younger than me, and I look up to her in this regard of being the bigger person, being that superhero in that regard. And her choices always fell on this path. Even when she would stray off of it, she would come back to it. And she didn't need me to sit there and say, oh, you're falling off the path. You know, she just needed a little bit of encouragement. And she'd figure it out for herself. That's more or less what's going on with that whole separation running phase. All of that stuff is stuff that you guys are figuring out, starting to work on, learning that that darkness is also part of you. You have to fall in love with that darkness within you. You can't be together until you like each other, until you like yourself, if you will. Not like each other, but until you guys both like yourself. You're in love with who you are. You accept the fact that there is that darkness inside of you, that there is that light inside you as well. And it's all about the balance of the two, the harmony between the two. You know, when they're your twins, because of that, you don't fall in love with the easy stuff. You fall in love with the hard stuff that you know, like, fuck, this is the stuff that kind of gets under my skin, but it gets under my skin for a reason. It gets under my skin because it shows me what I need to do, what I need to work on, what I need to figure out, what I need to adjust, if you will. And that's why you hate it. That's why it pisses you off, because it touches you in ways where other people do not dare tread. But this person, this chick, comes in your life and fucking is like a roller coaster ride. It's like a tornado. It blows everything up that you already had built in place and you were content with, and now you have this whole vision of something far beyond you never even expected. I mean, I'm just getting chills talking about this shit. And that's what your twin is. That's when they come into your life and they touch you, pow, and everything changes. And that's something that somebody can't just be an imposter, right? That's what I was getting at earlier, was this whole thing, imposter syndrome. Believe it or not, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go and check out what the new videos look like for the Paramore after I got it. And that's why I'm telling you this whole burning bush thing. This whole thing is started with getting that fucking album, and it opened up and unlocked doors. And it's funny how just an artist can create some music and do exactly that, open a door. And I have to imagine that she would get off on the whole idea that somebody out there has had doors opened up like I'm talking about now, just from her music, from the emotion that she put into those songs. And I feel it, you know. That's the thing. Us as empaths, and of course she's an empath. Of course she's a twin flame. She's one of the 144K. And that's the thing. You know, you can see that darkness in her music as well. And that's also what I'm talking about, the expression of it, the emotion, get it all out. That darkness inside that you want to express to the world is in the music, and there's a happy beats to it too. So you've got this negative words, lyrics if you will, but this positive emotional, vibrational music together. It fucking triggers stuff inside of you. Sorry, I went on that tangent. I don't even know exactly what I was talking about on that point, but I'm glad I was able to record it, because I know some of that stuff was worth hearing. Now, back off of Cloud 9, back here sitting on this stump here, you start to realize what's going on in the world when you understand what's going on inside yourself. You have the power to create all the things around you, to plant a seed in somebody's heart and or mind, and it has a chance to fruit and grow. It's either, it's ultimately their choice. You can't make somebody do something. You can't. I tried multiple times over the years, and for a long time I felt like, this whole thing that I'm feeling, that I'm supposedly am, is a hoax. This is bullshit. I have this imposter syndrome, if you will, because I can't touch these people's lives. I can't fucking change these people. And that's one of the things that I would tell myself, talking to myself, trying to figure this whole situation out. As long as you have that mentality, of course you're not going to be able to. All right? And it's not your job to make somebody do something. It's not your job to change the world. One thing that really touched me yesterday, I'm going to tell you this story, and it makes me feel like a prick. I mean, it honestly does, because this is something that I should have done, but it was also the lesson that I had to learn, and I wouldn't have learned it unless it happened exactly this way. I'm sitting at a stoplight, and right in front of me I noticed this guy. He's got his truck sitting right there in the middle of the road, picking some stuff up behind, and I'm like, well, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then I realized his toolbox fell out, all the sockets, all the screwdrivers, all the everything. And this guy's a working man. I mean, he's like me. He's trying to go to his next job, and he's fucking on the road trying to pick up all of his tools, right? And I'm like, okay, Brian, you got to stop and help this guy. I'm like, well, fuck, dude, I'm working too. I got 8 more jobs I got to get to. This is ridiculous. I got to get on to my stops. I'm already running behind, and this is the stuff going on in my head, right? As I pass by, I'm like, fuck, I'm such a piece of shit for not stopping and helping this guy. And it did. It made me feel like I'm a piece of shit. I'm sitting here trying to help all these people in the world today, and here's somebody that needs my help, and I'm just driving by like a fucking piece of shit, like everyone else that's just driving by. All of a sudden, not just one, but 2 cars, and I'm still looking in my mirror as I pass by, looking at 2 cars stop behind this guy. One throws on their flashers directly behind where all the stuff is. The other one pulls over to the side, and they start getting out and helping this guy. Now it made me fucking cry. I still feel it now. I feel like I'm this asshole that didn't have the time to stop and do that. And all this time I'm thinking about how terrible people are in the world, how I'm explaining to folks, the world are full of pieces of shit, and here I am. I didn't take the time out of my day to help that person that needed help, right? But 2 other people came up. I'm sure it made that fucking guy's day, made him feel like, there are good people in this world. And it touched my heart, not because, I was the asshole and the prick that didn't do it. But no, these people, they did. And if I did it, sure, I would have been like, okay, you know, I did my good deed and I feel good about myself and what have you, but I wouldn't have experienced that lesson unless I drove by, unless I did have that darkness, unless I did have that point where, you know, fuck, I need to go, dude. I can't be helping that guy. I got to get on to my next customer's house. There's plenty of shit that I've got to be getting to and taking care of. But the fact that two other people stepped up in that place, and it wasn't me, but two other people came in there, and I had to give my population credit. I had to give my fellow men credit, my fellow man, woman, human beings credit. All this time I'm feeling like, you know what? The world is such a ridiculous place. There's so much chaos, there's so much hatred, there's so much everything. And when you think about it, it's like, oh, well, God, if there's a God, why do you let all this happen? And you know what the interesting thing? I get this back every single time I fuck up and ask that question. God, why do you let this happen? You know what I hear in my head? Why do you let this happen, Brian? Why are you sitting on your ass letting this happen? Why are you just driving by while the guy needs some help with picking up his tools? Why are you accepting this? And I bring that back to you guys, anyone listening. Why do you let this happen? It's your job. God put you here in this position, in this place, in this time, in order to be that cog in the wheel, to stop and help the guy pick up his tools. And at the very least, fucking have it in your head, you know? Think about it. Express that and put it out there. That's what a prayer is, essentially, okay? More or less, in that moment, I put out a prayer for this guy to get some help and what have you. I didn't need to be the one to do that. And that's what I realized, that I can't do everything. All I need to do is essentially plant a seed. Help create the atmosphere that other people will help come to other people's aids. You don't have to do it all on your own. You can just fucking cast seeds out there, and all of them aren't going to grow, but guess what? If a handful of them do grow, guess how many times they're going to cast seeds and have handfuls of them, and it picks up like wildfire. All it does is take you to change your perspective, change your mind, change your attitude, fill your heart full of love. Stop all of the anger, stop the punching of the wall, stop the feeling like people are in your way. I still to this very day get behind people in traffic driving a couple miles under the speed limit, like, get the fuck out of my way. What the fuck are these people being in my way for? And I still feel that way. And that was one of the biggest problems my daughter had with me, as far as being in the car and me yelling at folks, you know. And I got that. I know exactly where it came from. It came from my dad, and my mom will sit there and say, Brett, see, you influenced your son to the point now he's yelling at people because they cut him off and don't use their turn signals, and, you know, just douchebaggery on the road. People don't give a fuck. And back in the day, my dad didn't even have to deal with these jerk-offs that didn't even have cell phones, right? You know, they didn't have cell phones. They couldn't blame it on that. Now you got somebody going like this. It's not even because they're a fucking jerk-off. They're just incompetent and on their phone. And it blows my mind that these things are taking place. All of the while, I'm sitting here talking about how we need to change, we need to do this, that, and the other. And it's all about that darkness. You have that balance. You have that point where you have the good times and you have the bad times. And the bad times happen so you can learn stuff. The good times happen so you can keep the fuck going. If you get to that middle ground where you are learning and you're continuing to have that thrill, that excitement of the new, the uncovering a rock, that being that kid where you're experimenting and experiencing, it's all about keeping you from being in that state. Because if you're in that state, you're like Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, for all his life, was continuing to uncover rocks and learn things and tackle situations. And if something had his mind perplexed, he was able to store it and then sleep sleep that night and wake up with the answers. And then, he's always uncovering a new mystery. And that's what life is supposed to be about. What if all of us are constantly out there uncovering a new mystery and not sitting playing with my iPods and doing this and doing that, all of these distractions? What if we're out there solving things? What if we're out there figuring out where we really came from, why we are here? You hear about, here's the Darwinian, evolution type idea of things, and then here's the God created it all thing. The whole idea is we think, one or the other is correct. Well, the whole idea of that being one or the other is correct is preposterous. It's the middle ground again. It's not linear thinking. It's a combination of the two. So there's a reason why people feel like we were created, we were made, because all throughout our ancient civilized world, our ancient civilization, you hear stories about how we were created by, aliens. Other entities from not this planet came here and essentially seeded this planet. It's not that hard to comprehend that it's plausible that there is an organized, intelligent species out there that came along long before human beings, long before the planet Earth, and are much like ourselves. Think about how we want to go to Mars and more or less terraform it. Turn it into a habitable world, if you will. Think about people like us traveling through space, comes across this third rock from the sun. Wow, this is a great piece of property to terraform and to create habitable life on this planet. Of course, we can't just take everything here and take it up to Mars and expect it to all just grow and flourish and be happy, right? I'm sure that's not what happened here on the planet Earth. There was having to be GMOs, manipulations, things took place in order to create the world that we live in. For us, if you will. We are outside of the natural world, if you will, because we didn't happen naturally. We have free choice, the ability to be a fucking complete asshole or a great guy because of that. So when you think of nature, things all happen a certain way. They have no choices. They have you have no way around it. The water is going to flow towards the direction that gravity pulls it. It's going to always take the path of least resistance. Human beings are not that way. We do not take the path of least resistance. A lot of the times, we will truck right through the fucking middle of a briar patch and get all thorned up and fucking... because that's the straight line, that's the straight path. Instead of taking this, little path that somebody had cut around the briar patch, no, that's the path of least resistance. We want to get there fastest. That's how we think, right? So, as a twin, as an intuitive, as a whatever you feel you are, go out there and find out who and what you are, because you're not going to be able to do shit for this community until you understand who and what you are. Once you're happy with who and what you are, now you're in a position to go out there and really start tackling some of these issues. Start figuring out where the equilibrium in all of this chaos is. Because it's not your place to make something a different way or do this, and necessarily, like the thing that you hear all the time is transmuting the darkness into the light, and ultimately that's the easiest way for us to put it. You've got this chaos in the world that is darkness. Like I said, you got to love the darkness as well. So there's going to be darkness. You're not going to just transmute all the darkness into light. There's going to be darkness. You can't have light without darkness. I mean, the whole concept just it doesn't make sense to a human being, to anything. You got to have the darkness and the light. You've got to have the complete cycle. You've got to have the summer and the winter. There is no beginning or end to the cosmos. There is no beginning or end to us. We might think, oh, well, on our headstones it says we were born this day and we died this day. That's not what I'm talking about. We are essentially, that's a day in the calendar, okay? That cycle, that month and year that you were born to the month and year that you died, that's the calendar. That's a day. That's a cycle. It's not the beginning and an end. That's like saying, hey, the beginning and end of Monday. Believe it or not, that's a human concept. We put that idea out there. There is no Monday. There is no Tuesday. This is something that we created. This is what we do on this planet. We create things, and we change things. We manipulate the cosmos, if you will, because of this free will. Because we aren't a part of nature, we have the ability to step outside of it and to play God. That's the thing that you need to accept, more so than anything else. As soon as you start taking that connection with God away, as soon as you start saying, I'm worshiping God, I'm worshiping all that is God, all of the things that God is in front of me, I'm worshiping all of these things. What you're doing is you're breaking that bond, if you will, with the cosmos, with God, with the Akashic record. You're cutting it off. You're saying, that you're not worthy, if you will, to have that power. And there's a difference between power and strength. Power is something that you can hold, you can have without anything around you, without anybody. You don't need something or somebody to have power. To have strength, you need weakness. You need something to compare that strength to. You need a softer individual to be a stronger individual. You need to have a slave in order to be a slave owner. That's when we think about this strength thing. But power is something completely different. Completely different. You can have power without having a weaker individual. It shows how powerful you are when you go into a, quote, weaker individual's presence and you lift them up. You make them bigger. You make them better than they were before you encountered them. That's what I'm talking about, planting these seeds. That's what Jesus was capable of doing. Do you think that he was a strong or a powerful empath? Think about it. This is we call it semantics, but wordplay, word manipulation, it's another way. It's almost like magic, if you will. Words can do certain things to people. Music, vibration, all of these things affect us differently. Like a hot and a cold breeze, you can affect us differently. All of these are different vibrations that are happening around us, and we are perceiving them differently. What you need to understand is you are a radio tower. You are a meat battery, a meat antenna, essentially, and you are experiencing different vibrations that are happening around you. It could be nature, it could be another human being, it could be all of these different things. So you as an empath, you as a starseed, you as a twin flame, you as an intuitive, you as one of the 144K, it's your task to be that powerful individual in the room, and to resonate this vibration throughout everyone else, to take all of the negativity that's happening around you and to transmute it into what you want it to be. If you want it to be peace, if you want it to be balanced, if you want it to be anger, it's essentially what you choose. So you need to understand your darkness. You need to love your darkness. You need to be able to control it and manipulate it and use it at your command. Use it at your will. That's the hardest thing about being an empath and figuring out that, you know, I have all of these, quote, gifts, if you will, but you also have these weaknesses. You find the balance between the two realms and you're going to be exactly where you're at. That's what each one of us as human beings are here to learn, is to find that balance, that center point, because it's where everything happens in the cosmos. It's where life can take place. I want any of you scientists types out there to write in, I don't ever ask this, but somebody that is honestly smart enough to have their pieces of paper and their degrees that says, hey, I've gone through all these years of school, I want you to write down and to tell me if I'm full of shit on this one or not. But everything as far as life takes place is found in this equilibrium point. Okay, you've got the Milky Way, if you will, is essentially flat because you have this northern and southern points that essentially push on everything that is light, that is matter. You can't have matter until it is first light. So that's why the Milky Way essentially looks the way that it does, like a bunch of, you know, light spilled out on a table. But it's all compressed down on a flat surface in a sense because of gravity, because of magnetism. The way that you can visualize it is much like Einstein tried to tell you, you know, take a bowling ball and put it on a sheet and it's going to gradually go down. Anything that you put on the outside of that sheet's going to fall into the center. That's an easy way to look at gravity. You can essentially look at it like this. You know, when you let all of the water out of your bathtub and you pull that drain is essentially your black hole. That's gravity. Everything in that bathtub is essentially going to go into that drain. When you think about the cosmos, the black holes, that's exactly what happens. Now, we like to think, you know, scientists ended up saying for all these years, once something enters a black hole, it never leaves. But here recently, we've actually witnessed, scientists have witnessed light escaping out of black holes. Now, you can also starting to see these pictures of otherwise black holes that have light going out one end and out the other end, much like the way that our magnetic field works around the planet Earth. Okay, now when you look at the Milky Way, the cosmos, the universe, the multiverse, all that is in existence, all of it is energy, all of it is constant motion, all of it is continuous flow, if you will. So if you have a black hole in the center of the Milky Way, if you will, and as below, so above, it's like a fractal. Okay, as soon as we think we have the answer, okay, this is it, it expands and we go that much bigger. We as human beings are a fractal. When we look at the Earth, it's a fractal. Tom, stop pulling on me. So when you look at the Milky Way, you're looking at that as a fractal. The cosmos is so much bigger than just that. You've got more galaxies out there, more solar systems, more universes, more multiverses. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, a fractal. Either way, you've got everything that goes through the black hole, shoots back out, becomes light, becomes matter. becomes planets, becomes us, circles back around, comes back into the black hole, gets broken down all into energy, light, matter, us. Goes through a continuous cycle. It's ongoing. Never started, it never ends. It's always. It's the all. And we're a part of it. We are part of God. Part of this cosmos, this whole creation. Now you can create things with your mind, like I explained earlier. You think things, and they start taking place. I'll give you some examples on this. It all happened recently, and this is one of the things that over time you get these burning bushes, you get these examples, and you know, somebody sitting right there that experiences that one example may not think of it as any big deal, but you, when you see them continuously happen every day, you're like, I don't need any other burning bushes. I understand what's taking place here. Thank you. Thank you. I don't need any more burning bushes. It's cool. I understand. That's how you start feeling after a while. But get back to my subject, my point. I was sitting at this stoplight. Once again, all these things happen while, you know, I'm going throughout my day not paying attention, right? This is why we need to pay attention to these things, these burning bushes. But I'm sitting at this stoplight. Across the way, there's this truck driver that has a truck that's fucking just smoking, blowing black clouds of shit. I don't know, good God, this is my atmosphere. This is my world that it's destroying. That fucking truck needs to be off the road, and I'm getting pissed off about it, you know? I'm sitting here at this red light, seeing all this black smoke and shit fucking up my environment. This is my environment. We can't be having that shit. This truck needs to be the fuck off the road. No joke. Sitting at the red light, you know, and of course they're across the way. The green light arrow comes first, so you know I'm still sitting at the red light. So the truck comes past me, blah 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 blah, dies right there, right here. After I'm bitching and complaining about this truck not being on the road. Now, it may very well have been black smoke and what have you, because it was in the middle of starting to die and be on its fucking last kaputs right there. It may have had something to do with me saying that and putting out that energy. It may have just completely had nothing to do with one another. But either way, the shit happened. The truck just died right in front of me, and I fucking smiled and said, wow, there's the burning bush. And the light turned green, and I said, all right, God, take care of that truck. Get it out of my environment. And I went on about my day, and I smiled. And those moments, just like the guy's tools falling off the truck, you think about those things all day, and they stay with you. You know, another one, this happened just a few days ago. I'm on the way to work to go to a meeting and what have you, and I'm otherwise irritated because I don't like being woken up early in the morning to go to these meetings. I like waking up when I feel like I'm wanting to wake up. So I'm having to drive a little bit faster than normal because I'm trying to make it to this meeting on time, and this guy in front of me in the slow lane, or the fast lane, is going slow, like 5 miles under the speed limit. I'm sitting there trying to be patient. It's not working. Fuck this guy. He's not moving over to the right. I'm gonna go around him, not like I supposed to, but go on to the right and pass him because he's being a douchebag, not getting out of the way after I'm sitting here fucking being patient and waiting for him. Well, there's a guy that was behind me that was thinking the same exact thing, right? Okay, so I go around him, and I'm, you know, going faster than the speed limit at this stage. Yes, I think probably 10 miles over the speed limit, going around a guy in the fast lane. So I know, hey, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but it's otherwise safe for me to do so. I'm going to go around this guy and make it to where I need to go. Well, the gentleman behind me decided he wanted to go around me. So we're 3 wide, right? There's 4 lanes on 285. He's going to now the lane just before the slow lane, the grandma lane, going around me. at least 10 miles faster than I'm going to jet around me the way that he did. And I slowed down. I came to a cross. I want to get around this guy. But this guy is fucking unsafe at this stage. So I adapt to the situation, back off, and like, okay, you go ahead and get around me, fella. I'll get around this guy eventually. You get around me, and I'm going to pay attention to you. And that's exactly what happened. I'm like, this guy needs to be the fuck off the road because he is dangerous as fuck. Not 5 seconds after I said that, right around me, I'm still in the same lane because I'm, slowed down at this stage. It was the cop. Cop comes pulling around. He may very well have been gonna do that without me thinking anything, without me saying that, without me, portraying a message to this guy like, this is dangerous as fuck, you need to be off the road. But either way, the police officer comes around me, pulls this gentleman over. All the while I knew that, hey, I was doing something just as capable for him to pull me over, but I was within reason of what I was doing. I knew that I was doing safe driving here, right? This guy here is going to cause an accident. The cosmos will listen to you. You just have to be patient. You have to put out the right energy. You have to not only have a strong will, and I promise you, there is no one that I've met that has a stronger will than me. And that might be the ego coming out, because there's not a whole lot of people I've ever met that has an ego that is as strong as mine. It's why it's been so difficult to make these changes, to make these steps that I have, is because the ego is constantly keeping these things under wraps, keeping them from coming to the surface. But yeah, I haven't met anyone that has been able to get beyond that point. And that's probably why I lost my train of thought, because ego stuff. Once you stop thinking about, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get some credit for it, and this is going to happen, and I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to go and do these things, your will and your intent, you might have the will to make those things happen, but your intent is not pure. And that's what you need. You need the both. You need the duality. You need the strong will and the pure intent. So when you think about, man, I wish somebody would help that guy put his fucking tools in there. I don't have the time to do that. You're putting out pure intent, and your will is already in place, but now you have the pure intent. You have to have that pure intent in order to create the world around you, to create things. So you can't just go out there and say, yeah, I'm going to pick the winning numbers on this lottery, and I'm going to do all of these good things, because in the back of your head you're thinking about, man, I'm gonna go and get this new car. I'm gonna leave that pain in the ass wife of mine that's always, complaining and stuff, and go and find, the one that I'm really out for, and all of these kind of things are going in the back of your head. Those aren't pure intentions. So you're of course not going to win the lottery. You're of course not going to. You can't create all of these things around you to immediately affect your life, is what I'm getting at. It has to be for the whole, for the all, if you will. If you're going in there with selfish thoughts and essentially saying, hey, I'm separate from all of these people, I'm separate from all of this, so I deserve this specifically for me, your intent is not pure. The cosmos is going to say, fuck you. That's not how it works. But when you start thinking about, hey, I want the cosmos and the population, mankind, to become something more than it ever has, and you start planting those seeds and you start becoming that yourself, then you start becoming exactly what you want to happen in the world today. And it's so hard pressed for anyone around you, anything around you, to not feed off of that, not to feel that. Any empath you touch, you're going to instantly waken them up. You're going to touch them in ways that they never felt before. They're going to understand, wow, this is what's really happening. This guy is saying exactly what I'm feeling. You know, and if that's you, you don't need any burning bushes to continue to explain this stuff to you. You know, if you've stumbled upon this, it's highly likely that you are already doing what you're supposed to do. You just needed a little encouragement. You needed that burning bush, that smack in the back of the head. And that's what us as individuals can choose to be for somebody if we want to. But we have to make that choice. You can't make somebody do something. I may very well have supposed to been in this position and walk this path all of my life, but God isn't ever going to say, Brian, you need to do this. You need to do it right now. You need to do it this way. No, it all happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen. People come into your life to make things happen. Situations happen in your life to make things happen. Make you learn, make you figure it out. It's how it works. That's why you have the darkness. Love the fucking darkness, y'all. Love it just like you love the light. If you do, you're going to start realizing you're going to have more balance in your life. You're going to be at a stage. Damn, it's looking pretty nasty out there. See all that? Ooh, I'm gonna get some rain. One of the things I wanted to do, and it's funny how it always happens, this storm has been holding off for the last 3 days. For whatever reason, I was supposed to get stormed on Thursday, and no storms. I love storms. This shows me that there is change a brewing. When you get a storm, it's exactly what it's happening. You know, you're getting change. You're getting nature to come back, and that darkness. I mean, this is some dark fucking clouds coming over past these trees. I'm gonna have some water come on me, and all the above. But darkness brings rain, brings the clouds, brings all of that life that you otherwise like, and all of that light that you otherwise like. It's going to flourish after the hard storm, after the rain, after trees are knocked down from a tornado. Younger trees are going to thrive and grow up from the ashes. That's the best thing about human beings, is it doesn't matter how much we fuck up or fuck things up. We have the ability to turn it around. We do. Once again, if you fuck up to a point that you cannot be forgiven from somebody, then that's their decision. You can't make them forgive you, but you can do everything possible to give them reason to forgive you, to show them that you need to be forgiven. You can do all of these things. And that's what Jesus is trying to teach you. He's not trying to say, hey, go out and do whatever the fuck you want, and because I died on the cross and love you so much, you know, it's all good as long as you're, you know, taking me into your heart, you're going to get into heaven one day. No. That's the easy way of putting it and looking at things, but no, that's not exactly how it works, y'all. You need to take those steps. You need to observe the teachings that are happening around you and take a look at what Jesus was teaching. Ooh, I'm about to get rained on. We gotta walk back, Waffles. Hold on. I'm gonna set this down for a moment. Whoop. There we go. Come on, we gotta walk back because that rain's about to tear us up. We'll get to the car probably just in time if I leave now. So, you're gonna see that too. I'm likely to get rained on, but I'm going to try to use that willpower that I was speaking of in order to hopefully just show you guys this is how it works. I might also be shown, ha ha ha, you're trying to prove a point and I'm gonna make you look like a fool. But no, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna start getting rained upon right as I get to the fucking car, because I got a little bit of a hike to go. Waffles, you're peeing on your thing. But I kind of went on a tangent. I think I got everything out of me that I needed to say. I I know it's hard to understand things because I don't put them in categories. I just run on tangents. I don't come out here with a list of things I want to talk about. There are a couple of things that I go into it wanting to explain, but it's really hard to unlock that door and just go on one of these tangents. And I think that's what I'm trying to shoot for more so than anything, because that's when I feel like I'm most authentic. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not that imposter, if you will, that imposter syndrome. That's something we didn't get on, but I want you to look that up. Any empath, any starseed, any twin flame, I promise you, you're going to experience what is called imposter syndrome. I didn't realize what it was, like I said, until I was watching that interview with Haley, and that ended up coming up in the interview. And after watching that interview, I knew with 100% certainty that she is definitely an empath. Now, I'm going to pick up the speed because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get rained on at this stage. Got to hold it off. Good thing I ended up picking up when I did, because otherwise I would have been walking a ways in this shit and I probably would be miserable wet. But this GoPro is actually waterproof. I kind of had anticipation that this thing was going to come when I was out here. I got some thunder for the first time now. Now I'm getting a little bit of sprinkles, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to hold this off. Come on, y'all. Throw out a prayer. Brian doesn't need to get rained on. Waffles doesn't need to get rained on too hardcore. What else did I want to talk about though? That imposter syndrome, we'll stay on that. Or let you go.